Mic is muted, even though I attach it. Hello, we're here and we're live with
Hello.
Jason Allen.
Hello.
You are close. You are very close.
Throwing this out to Twitter real quick so we can catch some Twitter goodness.
Yeah. You're really close. So.
All right, there we go.
But anyway, yeah, I hit my mute button, and of course I started talking, and there was nothing to hear. Because why?
Oops.
Because on a computer, when you click on something, you just don't necessarily click on something. So it's Friday, and I'm here, and I got another one of these ginger beer. Got ginger beer. You know what happened last time?
What's up?
I shouldn't take a drink when I said that. What happened last time? Shut up, Spock. Is I had the ginger beer last time, and I was like thinking, oh, that's so tasty. I think I'll have another one. By the time the show was over, the place was overrun by ants. I don't know where the ants came in, and you know it only takes just one. And
right.
sure enough, I had the. I don't know where the ants were. Right, I saw one during the show. I'm drinking the ginger beer. By the time I was done, they were in the cup. They were like, it's a ginger party. I was like, oh my God. Like when it was like, okay, we got to go. See you later. And it's like, I'm looking around, ants are crawling all over. It's like one of those scary horror movies.
Right.
The horror. That's my Marlon Brando from Apocalypse Now. Horror.
You can do that, or you can do Jerry Lewis.
Hello!
We got ants! Hello, ants!
Yeah, it's here! Hello! I know.
I think that would turn any monster movie or any, real hard sci-fi action.
Star Trek.
On it to start. Can you imagine that? Stardate 354. And then Jerry Lewis, not Jerry Lewis, but Dean Martin. You know, he could be Mr. Spock. You know, it's like, hey Jerry, you know, you got an outbreak there on the Nebula 5.
Yeah, I think it was Jerry Lewis auditioning for the role of Kirk. You know, it's like on the planet communicator. Tick, tick. Hello, Scotty, beam me up. Wow.
Yeah. Hey there, set the stun.
Oh, how annoying is that?
Oh, wait a minute. That was more... You sound more like Jerry Lewis. When I try to do it, I sound like Ethel Merman. You know?
Star Trek with Jerry Lewis and Ethel Merman.
And
God bless America!
I gotta be me!
Oh, God. Oh, jeez.
Hello! Hello to you! Hello!
If you start doing that, you know, you can't stop, and then people just no. But it would be good. It would be good, wouldn't it?
It would be awesome.
It would. No, think about it. Think about it right now, because we were just watching this. Little levity, a little humor. Yeah. Vice President Pence was the task force. We've heard from the CEOs. We've heard from Munchin and Larry Kudlow. And now I'd like to bring up Dr. Fauci for update on the situation. Fauci walks up to the podium. Hello, everybody!
We've got an outbreak!
And all of a sudden, they're coming to take me away. Ha ha.
Right. But it would be more entertaining than the real thing. Let's
yeah. That was what was going on. We actually, as I was getting ready to go, there was the news conference, and I turned it on. And what's the first thing? It's like I'm the CEO from Panera Bread and stuff. It's like, oh, really? Yeah. Then I was like, you know, if you don't have the doctors and stuff on there, because boy, people get mad. I mean, boy, there's a lot going on. You know. Yeah. You know, was that the other day? Did we the great Curly Neal?
We dressed him a little bit, but not much.
That happened, okay. Of the Globetrotters fame, Curly Neal passed away. Was that yesterday, or was that on Wednesday? Can't remember.
You know, I don't know. With all this quarantine going on, one quarantine day meshes right into another.
Yeah, I know, right? I was really busy, and so I just kind of was like, saw it, and was like, oh, and I didn't put, because, you know, I'm basically my grandma in the 21st century. That's basically me. Because when I was growing up, I remember grandma, who was older, especially later, you know, what did the people do? Well, back then they had the newspaper. Yes, kids, a newspaper. It was a bunch of paper put together with print on it.
What? Exactly.
Otherwise known as a broadsheet. It's a broadsheet, right?
Sure.
Whatever.
Or New York, you'd call it a fish wrap.
Ah, there you go. And you know what the old people do, like my grandma, God bless her. She would you know, they'd go back in was it the back pages, or like, I don't know, back page? No. Where the obituaries were.
Oh, yeah.
And they'd always read the obituaries. And as a young person, I thought that was rather morbid and weird.
Yeah.
I was like, Grandma, you know, and she's like, oh, so-and-so passed away. Oh, I like that person, you know. I'd be like, and I would say, Grandma, maybe just don't read the obituaries. I mean, kind of sad today. It's like, you know, but I mean, that's what they did with their white bread, grilled American cheddar cheese, and a glass of whole milk.
Well, that's also how they heard about stuff, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's how, but the thing is, take a sip. The thing is, Jason,
Yeah.
is that I as critical as I was of that when I was a kid, because it was like, oh, don't read that. Read the funny pages. I read
Right.
those too. I haven't read those since they got rid of Little Abner. But
That little scamp.
but the thing is I thought, that maybe it's not such a good thing for old people to read the obituaries, but I realized that I now have turned into my grandma online.
Okay.
Like Facebook, Twitter. What are you doing? You're scrolling through the feed. It's like Curly Neal,
Yeah.
all these people say, oh, and what is it? I had the same reaction as my grandma. Oh, Curly Neal, the Globetrotters. I always liked him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because it's like the older you get, these people are not only icons, but they're touchstones of your life, right?
And
so
musicians and stuff like that.
These people who you thought, oh, they're going to live forever, they're
But
icons.
but like Facebook, for example, your Facebook, that's kind of like the 21st century obituaries. You find out. And even people, friends of friends, people's like, oh, that guy, yeah, I knew that person. I'm going to be a little morbid here for a Friday, TGIF.
TGIF!
But yeah, it's kind of like the more I get older, the more I see the 21st century parallels of my grandma living in me, which makes me, So, if there's any old folks home that has an opening right now,
coming live from this assisted living.
Maybe I need to go in storage here and pull out one of the family Bibles, because, that's another thing Grandma would do is,
Right, yeah.
have some scripture with the milk and the cheese and the white bread, These were her vices, by the way. Her vices were whole milk, white bread, good old American cheddar cheese,
Right, yeah.
Grandma didn't smoke. Grandma didn't drink. Grandma didn't cuss. She was very religious, and I loved her very much.
I remember when I was growing up, one of the vices of my grandparents, right, is I remember we go up there, like, they lived up in, up by Seattle, so we'd go up there like once or twice a year, whenever, vacation time, whatever.
Yeah.
And I remember them. They didn't smoke. They didn't drink. They had no. But their outstanding vice was, oh my God, you serve bacon with breakfast.
Oh.
We're living dangerously now. But
really, bacon?
Oh yeah, yeah, because it's a little unhealthy for you.
Well, it's not. Oh, were they Seventh-day Adventists?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, they were Ninth-day Adventists. But no. But
on the planet Zorgon. I watched that episode of Enterprise last night, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
We're trying to get through this. We're from planet Zorgon, the Ninth-day Adventists. We seem nice halfway through the episode, but then we turn evil, like every Star Trek episode.
Right. We're like Seventh Day, but we're just late for 2 days.
Yeah. And this scientific supernova over here, we worship. It's like half of the modern Star Trek episodes since The Next Generation that you'd watch, right? And like I said, the nicer, by the way, because it always comes back to Star Trek. It always must. I mean, I should have my own Star Trek channel.
I mean, it's going to come back to something.
Yeah, because it always is, the nicer the aliens are. Like, as soon as they show up, it's like, and the captain and the crew's like, I kind of like these guys. Yeah, they're pretty nice, right? I mean, these people, we just ran into them floating around in the galaxy, and they're so nice. They're so really nice. We could actually be friends with them. Soon as that happens in a Star Trek, they're not nice, right?
Nope.
It's
they're hiding something.
They're hiding something. And the nicer they are, the worse that they're hiding something. It's like, it's like, yeah, we're nice, we're cool, we're friends with everybody and stuff. We've killed everyone we've met across the galaxy when we meet them, but we're nice about it.
So the moral of the story is, if you run across an alien and he says, peace, love, go, run the other way.
Well, the thing I always liked about Star Trek, and I kind of always like this, is because to me it feels realistic. Like if we really, Jason, if we waved a wand, like Elon Musk got 100 years in the future and it was like, yeah, there's starships. We can actually go visit another planet now and do this stuff. I'm thinking it's going to be dangerous out there. I'm thinking it's not going to be like, oh, this is neat in the paradise. You know, as soon as you get out of the beautiful womb of Earth, space is harsh. It's not made for us, you know? And so the thing I always liked about Star Trek was every alien they'd run into would be like, hey, humans, where you from? Earth? Cool, we'll kill you. Maybe we'll go to Earth, too, and kill all the rest of the people. It's like, that just seemed realistic to me, you know?
Yeah, it goes from 0 to serve man in like 5 seconds, right?
Yeah. You know, it's like I was watching a guy doing an analysis of The Day the Earth Stood Still, another Robert Weiss film, right? And his analysis was very interesting. I mean, he's kind of more I don't know, he's not a millennial, but a younger guy, younger than us. And it was really interesting, his take on it, which I kind of did agree with, but I think my interpretation watching it as a kid, like in the 70s, was a lot different, where I recognized that kind of conundrum because we'd grown up on the Twilight Zone and Star Trek, and so we were used to stories that had, you know, two sides to a coin.
Right.
You know, like, well, this is good and we won't do this and we'll eliminate war, but then we have to go do this. Oh, wait, well, that other thing to eliminate it isn't so great. But the guy pointed out that the whole moral of the story is Klaatu comes down and goes, okay, you guys got these nuclear weapons, you can wipe everybody out, and then you can go do your space travel and threaten the rest of the galaxy. And so we don't want that, so you better change your ways, Earth people, and stop all this aggression. It's like, okay, that's cool, makes sense, right? Good for humans, good for the galaxy. Except the other hand of it is like, and by the way, if you don't, this giant robot here is going to eliminate the human race. Right. So you got to do it anyway, right? Well, they'll come back, and the guy goes, that's a heck of a message, right? It's not like learn and be peaceful, and you know, kind of like Star Trek and the Federation, like we figured out how to, you know, we figured out our bad ways, and now we're spreading the good word out in the galaxy. But it's more like Klaatu's like, no, these giant robots will just incinerate you if you step out of line.
You know, this whole submit or die thing doesn't sound so good.
Well, it reminds me of the classic Star Trek episode where this planet or couple planets, can't remember, had eliminated war, right? Yeah, but the way they eliminated it, right? Classic. Right. Everyone knows this episode is they had a virtual simulated war in the computer. And if your city got hit by a virtual bomb, you had to go in the incinerator.
Right.
And die.
Right.
Well, not like war and messy, you know. And so Kirk and they're all down there like, oh, we just got hit by a bomb. We all got to go die. And, you know, Kirk is everybody's like, whoa, what?
Yeah.
I'm okay. You okay? You feeling good, Spock? It's like, you know. And then they explain, it's like, well, this is how we have fixed our problem with war. We've cleaned it up. You know, and at the end, Kirk's like, war isn't supposed to be clean. It's supposed to be nasty and painful and dirty. So you have to fight for the peace. You know, it's like, you know, Kirk gives one of his great impassioned speeches about it.
Redo that line with the screen test of Jerry Lewis.
Yeah. Hello! I'm not going in the incinerator. War is bad. Yeah. I'm not going to do it. You know, that's so annoying that I think it's not. But you know, so they, you know, the crew of the Enterprise breaks their computer and all that stuff. And then they're like, no, what are we going to do? We've been doing this for centuries. It's like, I guess you're going to, and, you know, Spock is like, I guess you might have to, you know, investigate some peace, try to some peace. I don't know. It's like that, right? I don't know why oh yeah, because you go out in the universe and things are not, so in, you know, Star Trek, you go out in the universe and you meet people who are basically look just like human beings with rubber masks on, you know, who want to kill you, like bat lefts and stuff. It's like, but You know, I don't think that we expect to go out in space and find people who look like us just with funnier faces, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, evolution is, you know, who knows what's out there?
If they look like me, the universe is in
Yeah.
trouble.
But,
yeah.
but more like a kind of a more modern thing, like you go out there and you find something that looks like, oh, say like the alien from the Alien movie. And what's that, right? Some pretty nasty stuff. Like, hey, what's that thing? I don't know. We can't talk to it. It's not a thing with a rubber face, and it has blood for acid, and it's just trying to kill and eat everybody. And
Right.
you know, don't you just, well, actually, they kind of do an Alien. That's kind of what I like. Yaphet Kotto kind of goes there. You just want one guy at Harry Dean Stanton. You just want one guy to turn and go, why are we here? Space sucks, man. This thing's killing our crew. We just landed on a freaking planet and picked up like this, you know, giant murderous insect thing with acid for blood. Right. Space sucks, man.
That was my big line on Alien 136. These people are a-holes.
Mm-hmm. Wow. I mean, that's one of the things that makes that Alien movie for me, is because the crew's pretty shell-shocked that all of a sudden now it's like, we got this thing, right? And crew members are dying. And you do have Yaphet Kotto and Harry Dean Stanton, who's not, he just kind of goes along with him. But Yaphet Kotto's just like, you know, the typical, let's get out of here, man. What are we doing, you know? And, you know, and then you have the evil science officer. It's like, you broke the quarantine. You know, you got the excellent Sigourney Weaver as Ripley. One of her excellent, she'll always be remembered for her role as Ripley, especially in the second one. Who's like, don't break quarantine. It's Yaphet Kotto's like, yeah, what she said, don't break quarantine, you know? It's like, you know, it's like, guy's got a thing on his face from another planet. Sure, let's bring it in. Let's have cocktails. Let's stare at it for a while.
Right.
I would be the perfect captain of the Curmudgeon. Because,
the USS Curmudgeon?
Yeah, because you know what we do every time we'd encounter some hostile like that? Turn the other way and warp the hell out of there. It's like, right. Mr. Jason, what do you suggest course of action is?
By my computations, I think we should do some social distancing.
Social distancing it is. Warp factor 6, Mr. Sulu, and get us the heck out of here. Wow.
That's right.
Like every...
Does this thing have reverse on it? Can we just, you know...
Any little tiny thing, it's like, what's that? I don't know. It's a distortion in the space-time. It just warped part of the ship. Okay, turn around. Let's go home.
So, like in the beginning, you know, to boldly go, you know, our version would be to boldly go, not so much.
And you see the ship fly by just like the intro of the classic start, to boldly go, and then you see the ship turn around and fly back. Maybe not so much, okay?
Yeah.
This Earth thing, we may be destroying our own planet, but it's still okay, you know?
Right.
People,
I can get really behind the Prime Directive. Don't mess with anyone. You got it.
Yeah.
You know?
Maybe the Orville will take that tactic at some point, hopefully. That show, which will coming back sometime this year. I can't wait. But, you know, and people, you know, we're talking about going to Mars and all that, which is pretty much our next door neighbor planet, the closest planet to us, you know. Rocky, kind of similar to Earth. It's like, yeah, just go to Mars, hang out. It's like, do you have any idea? Like, it's like, you know how hard it is to climb out Mount Everest and deal with the elements and survive the elements, Mount Everest, and lots of people don't survive? Imagine that on a planet 100 times. That's Mars. There's nothing growing there, right? You know?
Right, yeah.
There's no breathable atmosphere. There's not even a shield to keep you from getting irradiated from the cosmic rays of space and the sun.
Right. Hey, listen, folks, terraforming right now is science fiction.
Yeah. I mean, I always hate to say that because I feel that that's our future someday, you know. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, not in my lifetime. I'd love to see that future, and I hope, you know, I'm also saying that we shouldn't not make progress, but, you know, if you've ever, I don't know if you've seen these like documentaries like Neil deGrasse Tyson and, you know, like Nova has done documentaries like where they've sat down with scientists and say, okay, we're going to Mars. Tell us what we need to do. From the standpoint of food, like, well, how are we going to preserve the food? Like, I remember the scientists, I think it was a lady and a guy, and they do all the food for NASA. Like, they're the chief scientists in food, like on the space station. And they're like, you know what happens with food? As soon as you make it food, it starts breaking down. And, you know, and they're like, they basically sit there and like mashed potatoes and all this stuff, and they watch it break down over months so that they can predict, well, in 6 months, this is just going to be a mushy mash of crap that you're not going to eat, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, that's why, like, you know, it took a week to go to the moon and come back. That's like a weekend going to the park, space-wise.
Right.
And be, well, we went to the moon. Did you know how hard that was? And all their food was freeze-dried in pouches that they put water or hot water in and sucked it out. That's what they ate. Freeze-dried food, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which that was another, speaking of the great Curly Neal, Harlem Globetrotters. Mm-hmm. And so on my obituary Facebook, I finally posted something, and I ended up I said, well, I'll just I'll update my cover, my wall, whatever it is. What is that thing? Cover flow? What the heck? You know, the thing. Wallpaper, whatever.
I got you.
Yeah. And so I found a really cool picture of Curly and Meadowlark.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I said, well, I remember in Meadowlark, and he passed away 5 years ago in 2015. Meadowlark Lemon.
Yeah.
So I saw those guys as kids, you know, everybody growing up back in the day. Harlem Globetrotters were huge. They're still around, but they were a huge thing. Like Harlem Globetrotters would come to your town. Like they would go to the Coliseum where the Blazers played and all that. The kids would go to I want to go see the Harlem Globetrotters. And they were a great show. You know, sports, fun, clowning around, you know. They had their own cartoon.
Do you remember the team they always used to play against?
The Washington Generals?
Yes. It's like the league only has 2 teams.
Yeah. Oh, where'd it go? Yeah, no, I remember that. That's like a big... I think that was... Remember that like board game years and like came out in the 90s or 80s or 90s, that trivia game. People started playing trivia. I think that was a trivia question. What?
Oh, you mean
a sports trivia question?
What is that one game?
Well, it was trivia. They made lots of them. It was like one of the most popular games.
Yeah.
But it was like board. You'd get cards, and it was a trivia questions.
Yeah, you get these little pieces of the pie, and you got this little circle thing, and you can fill it up first.
Yeah. That was it. That was the one. I forgot about the little thing. But yeah, I think that was a trivia question way back when in the sports section. What was the team that the Harlem Globetrotters would always play?
That's right.
Which they were actual teams, you know. The Harlem, they were real. They have their origins in being actual basketball teams. I don't remember how the Harlem Globetrotters became the Harlem Globetrotters.
I don't know.
I was like, Wilt Chamberlain was involved with them too.
Really?
Yeah.
That I did not know.
I didn't know that either. I was like, huh?
Wilt was still.
Maybe that was before he was in the NBA. I don't know. Let's just take a look here. I'm going to find History Championships, current roster, retired numbers. Wilt Chamberlain, number 13. Wilt Chamberlain, the first Globetrotter to have his jersey number retired in 2000. So when did Wilt Chamberlain...
I don't know.
See, I didn't know that either. Yes, here it is. Wilt Chamberlain. It was his first professional gig. Wilt Chamberlain, 1958-1959 Harlem Globetrotters.
Wow.
After his frustrating junior year, Chamberlain wanted to become a professional player before finishing his senior year. However, at the time, the NBA did not accept players until after their college graduating class had been completed. Therefore, Chamberlain was prohibited to joining the NBA for a year. This was in 58. And decided to play for the Harlem Globetrotters in 58 for the sum of $50,000.
Wow.
That's a lot, equal to $443,000 in 2019. 440. That's a lot of money, dude.
Yeah, that is for that
58?
Day.
Yeah, equivalent to almost $450,000.
Yeah.
Wow, he's making.
Oh, hey, Keith Hatfield on our side.
Yeah,
he says Trivial Pursuit. Excellent.
that's it. Trivial Pursuit. That's the game.
Keith, thank you, buddy. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, Trivial Pursuit was the game. Chamberlain became a member of the Globetrotters team that made history by playing in Moscow in 1959. So this is all before my time as a Harlem Globetrotter fan. I mean, I was Harlem Globetrotters fan when their cartoon characters were making guest appearances on, Scooby-Doo,
Right, yeah.
solving mysteries with Scooby and Shaggy.
That's right.
The team enjoyed a sold-out tour, the Soviet Union. Prior start to the game at Moscow's Lenin. There's got to be film of this. The Harlem Globetrotters. I mean, I just see them doing the whole shtick, with the hiding the ball and stuff. It's like, I dedicate this game to Mother Russia. It's like, where did the ball go? Well, where did ball go?
Yeah.
Capitalists have hidden ball. Ball's over here. Wow.
Curly Neal's running around dribbling on everything, and they pan out to the audience, and all the babushkas got headscarves on.
Oh man,
Yeah.
We could make a movie of this. We
Yeah.
could make a movie of the Moscow 1959 Harlem Globetrotters, fictional movie, and we do it like that. What was that Rocky movie with Dolph Lundgren?
Ooh, Rocky IV.
Well, Rocky IV, right?
Yeah.
We have the height of the Colt. The Russian. The Russians come out. They look very Russian. Soviet for big muscular. We play Harlem Globetrotters.
They line up center court.
Yeah.
They're about ready to jump on.
And here come the Harlem Globetrotters. With the America.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And then we have a side. No, this is a perfect movie. All centers around the game and stuff, but then there's a side hustle, which is like a spy, a side. There's a femme fatale who's like a double agent spy, this was before Curly Neal's time, but you have like one of the Harlem Globetrotters getting involved in like a romantic spy kind of a thing, kind of a little top secret action going on there.
What do you think about them hiding microfilm in the basketball?
Yes. Or the tennis shoe. How about the sole of the tennis shoe?
Right.
And the thing is you have, Kerensky. Call him Kerensky, right? He's kind of dressed like me in the black. Has like the party pin on there. He's like the KGB, right?
Yeah.
And he's at the game. And Kerensky knows that the microfilm is somewhere in one of the tennis shoes.
Right.
You have to get me the tennis shoe. We know they will be smuggling out the microfilm in the tennis shoe. Boris, we cannot let the Harlem Globetrotters go.
That's great. Right.
Dude, it writes itself, doesn't it?
It's beautiful to get the spy.
We got it.
Oh, it's great.
This is what we do here. This, honestly, I think our best shows are when we come up with script ideas for Hollywood movies.
I think so too. I even got a title. You ready for this?
Yes.
Operation Sweet Georgia Brown.
Ooh, I like it. I like it. Operation Sweet Georgia Brown.
Right.
Because that's like the dossier. That's like there's a CIA handler guy.
Yeah.
And the CIA handler guy is like the ball boy or whatever. He's like got some like dumb job like cleaning the jock straps or something.
He poses as the equipment manager.
Yes, he's the equipment manager, but he's actually seriously CIA agent, right? Running Operation Sweet Georgia Brown. Of course, he's gonna die, right? You know, I mean, there's gonna be a big dramatic thing with the femme fatale.
Yeah.
And then she'll be comforted by one of the Harlem Globetrotters, and then that will spark some things. And then the Harlem Globe, so the original plan, it writes itself, dude. The original plan was the whole spycraft was going to happen with the CIA agent who is posing as the equipment manager and the femme fatale double agent from Moscow and all of that. But of course, with his untimely demise, right?
Yeah.
The Globetrotters have to come into action and finish the plan when the plan is revealed. So, while the plan has to, we have to, and he's gone now, and lives are at stake.
Yes.
Lives are always at stake, Jason.
Always at stake.
The clock is ticking.
The fate of the free world.
The fate of the free world.
Yeah.
I can't whistle today.
I can never whistle.
Yes, the fate of the free world is at stake. There's actually even, like, once the spycraft goes and at the end, the finale, the basketball game, when they have a huddle, or not the huddle, but in the locker room before the game, the coach is there, right? And it's been revealed, right? And coach, rather than getting ready for the game, it's like, gentlemen, the fate of the free world is at stake. Remember, whatever his name, remember Jenkins.
That's right.
Who was our equipment manager, who we didn't know was also a CIA spy.
Right, and during in the fourth quarter, right?
Fourth quarter.
It's 2-minute warning.
2 minutes.
They're on the sidelines. The coach has got the little whiteboard with the drawing.
Yes.
And he's doing this.
Yes.
He's doing this, and the players are like, "What's he doing? What's he doing?" Because they're all huddled around him.
And Kerensky. Don't forget Kerensky's in the stands. KGB Kerensky. He's in the stands with the binoculars. They're like watching all the footwear, the tennis shoes and stuff, right? Music. 2-minute warning, right? Because they know the microfilm. Yeah. It's somewhere. Is it in his sock? Yes. So they're doing the huddle.
Yeah. And so the head coach, right? His name will be what should be the head coach? Skip something?
Yeah, Skip. Oh, Skip's good. Skip. Skip Jordan. Skip Johnson. Skip. I don't know.
Oh, let's do it. Skip Jordan.
Okay, Skip Jordan.
Skip that little basketball.
Yeah.
So he's there. Yeah. So he's there, and he's drawing on the whiteboard, and all the rest of the Globetrotters, they're waiting in bated anticipation. Yeah. And he turns it around, and it's the American flag with the words above it, "Remember Jenkins."
Oh, yeah.
And then the patriotic, and then in the background, the slow, the Sweet Georgia Brown, and then I'll stand up, and they're ready to go, man. They're doing this for freedom.
I know. See, because who doesn't like, this is perfect, right?
Yeah.
Who doesn't like spycraft, love, and, femme fatale and all that?
Yeah.
And big sport highlight stuff happening as the clock is ticking. It's perfect. Like, think about it, too. The referee, like maybe it's kind of an international referee, but the head referee is Russian.
Yeah, he's been paid off.
No, not Russian. East German.
Oh!
East German ref.
What's going on over here?
And in the fourth quarter, the Soviet Union, those players are playing rough, and they're big guys, right? They're like tanks, they're,
Oh,
yeah. And so, like when you see them training, they're out in the snow in their skivvies. Like, we will beat the Americans. Right? Training for this basketball game. So you see them, right? And they got the dirty pool. So they're coming up for a block and elbowing our Globetrotters in the face, and our Globetrotters are going down on the floor, right? No, and they're looking at the East German ref. No whistle. I see nothing. Play on. Play on. I say. So that the cards are stacked against our globetrotters,
The
Americans.
fix is in, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So not only that, they got to find a way to beat the Russians at their own dirty game
That's right.
and smuggle that microfilm out in a tennis shoe.
That's right.
You know, one of these days we're gonna go see a movie and it's gonna be one of our scripts we talked about that we came up with. It's like, hey,
That's us. Intellectual rights.
hey, we talked about this on a podcast once, man. Man. And see, we could have the character of Wilt Chamberlain. You know.
Yeah. Who do we have playing these people? Because I'm thinking ex-NBA guys, name recognition.
Yep.
Like the coach, right? Skip Jordan could be Michael Jordan.
Yeah. That's true.
And then let's see, who would be the equipment manager? Jenkins.
You know, I mean, by the time we get this thing made in a couple of years, you know, I mean, you could have guys retiring. You could have it be a LeBron James vehicle. Huh?
LeBron.
Yeah.
LeBron.
Like Space Jam. Was it Space Jam? What was the one?
That's Jordan, Space Jam.
Okay,
yeah.
Space Jam. That was with the Warner Brothers characters and Michael Jordan.
Yep.
Okay. Isn't there another basketball movie too? But Space Jam is the one we all think about with Michael Jordan.
Right. I've got it.
And the Warner Brothers characters want to play basketball. And there's a whole bunch of cameos in that movie.
There is.
And a bunch of NBA cameos too, players and...
The main stud on the USA team, right?
Yeah.
The young hotshot, Zion Williamson.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It'd be funny, though, because it'd take place in the late 50s, in the height of the Cold War, so we make it a period piece, so they got to, like, wear... Zion was good in like one of those suits and a pork pie hat and stuff, you know, because that's what you got to wear in the late 50s.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Dude. It's in the late 50s.
Yep.
So we could have a whole, like, bebop soundtrack jazz going on. Dizzy Gillespie, Charlie Parker, Miles Davis, Thelonious Monk, and be like, hey, cool. You know, got some music going on here. Well, my era of music, yeah.
Can you imagine the bebop version of Sweet Georgia Brown? Is there one?
Oh, yeah, probably, but yeah. Yeah. Man, we got a movie here, man. Oh, I could just see the previews.
Hollywood.
One night.
Right.
One night in 1959. An American basketball team played in Moscow.
You gotta have the drums in back.
Yeah. The game was legendary behind the Iron Curtain, but what people didn't know was there was more going on behind the Iron Curtain. Operation Sweet Georgia Brown in theaters this summer.
We need the echo though. We need that voice.
Yeah.
On board.
I just hit the wrong one. Operation Sweet Georgia Brown in theaters this summer. Coming this summer to theaters near you. That's the old school. You know? Remember that was the old school when you'd see a preview back in like the 70s? Coming soon. It was like one guy, they'd slap it on everything. It was like the one graphic and the one guy who did that voiceover. It didn't matter what theater, what movie, be the same guy. Coming soon to a theater near you. Be like, oh, okay.
Now you got that one guy with the kind of gravelly voice, you know, in a world where...
Yeah, the, what's his name, yeah. I mean, such a stadium. They were greeted by General Secretary Nikita Khrushchev, so we have to have someone playing Khrushchev?
Oh.
Anthony Hopkins. Cameo.
Oh.
I bet you Hopkins could play a Khrushchev.
Yeah.
And he's a good age for it. Stick a wig on him. You know, stick a little bit of a Russian wig on him. Hopkins would eat it up.
Oh, yeah.
I already cast him. Anthony Hopkins. You good with that?
I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good. That's perfect.
Because you got to have big cameos. This is going to be a big cameo movie.
Right.
Ooh. I got another cameo. Somewhere in here, and it's just got to be a side character, like the assistant business manager that you see once on a scene. Barack Obama.
Of course.
Huh?
Yeah.
See,
Yeah.
it's a cameo movie. It's a cameo movie. Like, people are going to be like little parts, little cameos. What the kind of movie that you watch the movie and there's just like these little parts and someone does a walk on, and you're like, oh, holy crap, that's Nicolas Cage. You're like, it's that kind of movie.
Perfect.
Operation Sweet Georgia Brown.
That's right. Oh, that's beautiful. That's a hit right there.
Backstory, you have a backstory of, one of the players or whatever, like coming from a small town, never imagined to be globetrotting the world. That could be Zion, You could have oh man, we got it. You'd have to have all like the Stephen A. Smith and stuff, Doris Burke would have to be in it in costume, Ernie and the
Stephen A. Smith is the grizzled. He's the grizzled radio guy from Harlem's W something.
Gotta have Chuck and Kenny and Ernie and Shaq,
Oh yeah.
Somehow work them in.
You gotta have Shaq in there.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's I know what the Shaq scene would be.
Okay.
I got it. You have the small point guard, small guard, right?
Yeah.
Small guy on the team, shooter.
Okay.
And like there's a scene like off, like not during the game, like during practice, like they're both practicing on either side of the court, the Russians and the Americans. And then one of these guys, the big, tall, the guy's a brick, right? The Russian guy. Just like the tall center, he's like a 7-footer, 7'2", just tall. The ball bounces. It's like, and the little guy, our little globetrotter guard guy, bumps into him, right? And then does look up, and it's like the guy's just like a rock. He's like a statue. It's like Lurch, right?
Yeah.
It walks away. Later, you got the same scene, bump up, and then it's like the Russian guy, looks up, and it's Shaq.
That's right.
Shaq's like,
and he's got
eating a burrito.
He's got that one line too. He's like, "Going somewhere, little man."
Yeah. Are you looking for this ball?
That's right. Oh, you're right. It writes itself.
Google me, Gregory. Google me.
Right.
Google me, Gregory. I've got rings. No, whatever he said. He always is telling Barkley on that show.
Yeah,
I missed the NBA.
That one famous line he's got when he's in the locker room and they're talking to him about blocking the key and stuff. I'm an oak tree. I love that. He's got to work that in there too.
One particular Globetrotter skit involved Globetrotter captain Meadowlark Lemon collapsing to the ground, and instead of helping him up, Chamberlain threw him several feet high up in the air and caught him like a doll.
Oh my gosh.
Chamberlain was the strongest athlete who ever lived. So this was apparently, they bring this up in this skit, this is apparently something they did at this game in the Soviet Union.
Yeah, somehow I'm imagining though, in the part where they do the little hijinks, the bucket full of confetti and they think it's water.
Yeah.
And they go running up to the thing and they throw it, it's confetti. Somehow I'm imagining though, when that happens, a bunch of Kalashnikovs come out at people in the crowd.
Yes. The KGB guys, or the guys in uniform,
Yeah.
So then in October '59, he made his NBA debut in the Philadelphia Warriors.
Yep.
And Chamberlain immediately became NBA's highest paid player when he signed a $30,000 contract equal to $263. So you got less money playing than the NBA, more money in the Globetrotters.
Right.
That's why. It was his rookie contract, but still. This goes way back. Anyway, so yeah, I did not know Wilt Chamberlain was his first professional gig was a Harlem Globetrotter.
That is news to me.
That was definitely before our time. I mean, we definitely grew up with the Meadowlark Lemon, Curly Neal. Yeah, I mean, they were in their prime back in the 70s. Every TV variety show would have the Harlem Globetrotters on, or talk show or whatever. It's like the Mike Douglas Show. Today's guest, Sally Fields, Steve and Edie Gourmet, and the Harlem Globetrotters.
What's that one lady's name? Tootie something.
Oh yeah.
Edie Gourmet.
So my Facebook feed is like my grandma's obituary.
Yeah.
It's like these people die, and it's like, oh, I always liked the Harlem Globetrotters when I was growing up. Like I told you, you actually said it, and I had seen it, and you said, oh, then you sent it, and I, like I said, my response was, I'm whistling the Sweet Georgia Brown in my head now,
Yeah.
So we're
It's
just,
funny.
Yeah,
the funny thing is my kids would have no idea who those people are.
There's gotta be a bunch of YouTube on there.
I think so, yeah.
I mean, it just solidified though when they were like a cartoon, when they turned them into cartoon characters, and then it was like the special, literally Scooby-Doo with the Harlem Globetrotters, the gang meets the Harlem Globetrotters and they go solve a mystery together, right?
Right.
I mean, in cartoon sense, this makes complete sense. Like if you're solving a mystery, if you're the Scooby-Doo gang, obviously if you're solving a mystery and the Harlem Globetrotters can come on board with you and help you out, you're not going to say no.
No, it's a win-win.
Yeah, it's a win-win. Because at the end, someone, maybe Curly, pulls the mask off, and it's like, I would have got away with it if it weren't for those kids and the Harlem Globetrotters.
Yeah, they put masks on. Oh, man, Crothers.
Yeah.
And I would have gotten away if it wasn't for those meddling kids.
Meddling kids, yes.
Yeah.
And those basketball-playing Harlem Globetrotters.
And then, I remember when on Scooby-Doo they had Phyllis Diller.
Are you kidding?
Oh, no.
No, you know what? I remember it too now that you say that.
Yeah.
I remember that too. Kind of. Oh yeah, they had everybody, right?
That's great. Can you imagine
Paul Williams must have made it on Scooby-Doo at some point.
Right.
I've got a song for you, Scooby. Can you give me a Scooby sack and I'll sing it? Okay. Can I have one more Scooby snack? It just really mellows me out, Scooby.
Right. Or it's like Scooby-Doo and like Frank Sinatra. Jinkies, just the chairman of the board.
I think Frank was a little too high-end, old school. I don't know, man. You know what I mean?
Jerry Lewis would have done it, though.
Maybe the old school people. Yeah, maybe. I'd see more like Paul Williams, the Globetrotters, maybe crossover with the Monkees, the Peter Tork or another guy who passed away not too long ago. Oh,
I think they were on there.
Oh, I always liked the Monkees. Yeah, you know what I mean? Bob Denver.
Oh, of course, Gilligan, yeah.
Yeah, Gilligan. Or Dobie Gillis.
Yeah, Don Knotts, too.
Don Knotts was on there.
Yeah.
Okay, now you got me going. Now the important questions always come up during the show after we write, I'm telling you, a multi-million-dollar Hollywood script that we just did.
Always.
Right there.
Yes.
Special guests, Scooby-Doo. Because I got to know, man.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, we got to know the list of shows and cameos.
Casey Kasem. Well, Casey Kasem was Shaggy.
Right. Yeah.
The new Scooby-Doo movies.
Mhm.
Okay, okay, here we go. DoYouRemember.com. I have no idea.
Okay.
Again, who knows? What was that website we were going through? Kiss on Wednesday. It was like, yeah, well, it works. Scooby-Doo's best celebrity guest. Oh, Sonny and Cher, dude.
Yes.
Sonny and Cher. Don Knotts. There's Don Knotts. I'm looking at Batman and Robin.
Oh, that's right.
Scooby-Doo's best celebrity guest appearances. Do you remember the new Scooby-Doo movies? Is it just the movies? Produced by CBS between 72 and 74. Prime television. As we talked about last time about the NBC mystery movie and the ABC, the NBC, all that stuff. Was Cannon on Scooby-Doo? That would have been great. He'd be fighting over Scooby snacks. Who'd be hungrier, Cannon or Scooby and Shaggy?
Oh, as a quick aside to this,
yes.
Update, current events. I actually ordered my Frank Cannon T-shirt.
Oh, nice.
As soon as I get it,
dude.
I'm wearing it. Oh yeah.
You know what I got? You know what I got a message today, and I saw this somewhere a couple days ago, and then my friend sent me this message and said, "Look at this, Curb Your Enthusiasm. You can buy Mocha Joe, or Latte Larry's T-shirts."
Oh, that's
with the
awesome.
logo. I know. I'm like, loving that Latte Larry's T-shirt.
Yeah.
And they have, but I mean, wouldn't it be great to get? I not that I've replaced this wonderful, my Twin Peaks mug, which was purchased actually at that diner for real. But I wouldn't mind having like a Mocha Joe's or a Latte Larry's.
Funny you should mention a new coffee mug.
Yes.
I'm gonna have, since we're quarantining, I'm gonna have to drop it off on your doorstep. But when I was at the beach, I was in this place and I looked and I saw a golden halo.
I think I know what place you were at too.
Yes, a golden halo surrounded this coffee mug, and I said, "Good Lord, I gotta do it." And so I picked it up for you, and I need to drop it off like on your front step since we're doing the old social distancing thing.
Would you have happened to have been in Seaside?
No, Lincoln City.
Oh, this was Lincoln City. Oh, Lincoln City. Okay.
Part of that outlet mall, and they had this one store that was just.
Okay.
It was 100% us, everything in there.
Okay. Well, the place I was thinking of is in Seaside, and it is called the Man Store.
Oh wow! Yeah.
I've got pictures. I went in there, talked to the owner, who. If you go into the Man Store and you talk to the owner, and it's a Man Store. This is and they have lots of T-shirts, lots of mugs. I took pictures of the ones. It's man-centric, Man Store, and has lots of things about some things that other people who aren't men might get offended. So we talked to the owner for a while.
Excellent.
A woman. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
I mean, not like a young woman either. And they were like, and I finally said, I did my when Kirk's talking to the aliens, see Star Trek again. When Kirk's talking to the aliens and they say some stuff like, yeah, well, religiously we kill all our young and all that stuff. And finally Kirk does one of those, let me ask you a question. You know what I mean? It's a question that really, I was like, one question. How did you come about to open the man's, and her answer was like, honey, I raised 4 boys.
Oh.
I was like, well, there you go.
That answer automatically puts you in your place, right?
Yeah. No, she was just like, I mean, she was charming. Had a good conversation with her. It was very interesting. Lots of stories. But the Man Store. I think that's what it's called, the Man Store. I got pictures of it somewhere. I was going to share it. We didn't do shows, but I was going to share it. It's right there in Seaside, down. I think it's like, by the Pig and Pancake or whatever. The Saltwater Taffy.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know what the name of this place is, and I probably have it in the receipt somewhere. It's probably got its little thing. But
I love little places like that have, you walk in and there was a place, and I don't know if it's still there, in Pike's Place in Seattle. And as a kid, it was like heaven. You'd walk in there, and they had everything obscure pop culture. Like they had Star Trek stuff. They had movie posters. Like they had Star Wars. They had all music, and like there was no place in Portland that was like this at the time. And when I go to Seattle and I discovered this place, anytime we ever went to Seattle when I was a kid, it's like, oh yeah, we're gonna go to Pike's Place. Oh yeah, yeah. And it's like I'd like memorize where this place was at. I can't remember the name of it. I think it's actually well known. It was in Pike's Place, and they just had all this obscure pop culture stuff back when that was really hard to get. Like nowadays, you just go up to websites and you can spend thousands of dollars on obscure pop culture stuff easily. But back then, it was hard to find. You know, like your favorite obscure sci-fi TV show or something, and wow, here's a poster of it. Oh my God, you know?
Right. That's awesome, yeah.
So let's see. So the movies. Gang. Oh, the Three Stooges. The Three Stooges in the ghastly ghost town.
Excellent.
Sonny and Cher.
Yep.
The Secret of Shark Island. Oh, that's great. That was back, what year was that? So the early 70s. I mean, that's, Sonny and Cher were huge. They had their own TV show.
Yeah.
I can't remember their opening song either. Tell me the Partridge Family must have. No, here we go. And her cartoon character, Mama Cass Elliot in the Haunted Candy Factory.
I've seen that.
I've
seen that, yeah.
The gang receives an SOS from the famous Mamas and Papas singer Cassie Elliott, and they end up helping her to unmask the green globs who are running around all over the place inside her candy factory. I mean, there's your Frank Cannon Scooby-Doo episode.
Yep.
Dick Van Dyke in the Haunted Carnival.
Yes.
There you go. He's a carny. I could show these pictures of the people, but what's the point? What's the point? It's all going to be over anyway. Jerry Reed in The Phantom of the Country Music Hall.
Right.
The gang attends a concert by Jerry Reed, but they discover he is missing.
That's funny. Somehow I can't imagine Shaggy and them being really big fans of Jerry Reed or country music.
Dude, you do enough Scooby Stacks. It's like, it's probably good. It's a good old boy. It's like, you know, they'd be like listening to Jerry Reed, and then they'd be like, oh, let's get Chris Christopherson. Okay.
Okay.
Josie, okay, here's the really big crossover. Josie and the Pussycats in the Haunted Showboat.
Yeah.
I go into that. Josie and the Pussycats.
Josie.
People don't even know Josie and the Pussycats. I like Josie and the Pussycats.
Oh yeah.
Little Doc Normal always liked girls that were, even if they were a girl band called Josie and the Pussycats. It's like, I like this cartoon. I don't know why.
It's not Little Doc Normal. It's Little L-I apostrophe.
I mean, come on. It's like they're all wearing cartoon miniskirts. No.
Yeah. Yeah.
This of course as I'm reading these, they all make sense, right? All these guests, right? There's none that are weird here. You're gonna love this one. Don Adams in The Exterminator.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, Don Adams would be like, he guest starred on a lot of stuff after Get Smart.
Yeah.
Don Adams would always show up on stuff. He's, if you don't know, Get Smart. What was his name on Get Smart?
Oh.
What was his? Can't remember.
Well, he was just Agent whatever, right?
Yeah, and the gal was Agent 99, right?
Right. Uh-huh.
99? I just, as a kid growing up and seeing that show with a little kid, the thing you loved is the telephone in the shoe.
Of course.
I mean, that was always the thing. You'd wait, like, it's like, oh, this is the one where he's got a shoe that's a telephone, You're a little kid, you're fascinated by that. It's like all of a sudden he's 99.
Or even the beginning, right? Where he's
The
walking
beginning is
the
great.
telephone booth and goes, boo,
Another classic intro to a classic television show is the beginning of Get Smart. That was Get Smart was Mel Brooks and Buck Henry, wasn't it?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Buck Henry.
Yeah. Okay, Don Adams in The Exterminator. What did I say? What did I say? Right here. I just pulled this out of my head. Davy Jones in the famous Horseman from Hagglethorne Hall. Davy Jones. What did I say? The Monkees, of course.
Of course.
Laurel and Hardy in The Ghost of Bigfoot. Ooh, Ghost of Bigfoot.
I remember that, yeah.
You remember these? Are these?
I do. Yeah.
And here's the one you were just talking about. Phyllis Diller in A Good Medium is Rare.
A good medium is rare.
Phyllis Diller.
Yeah.
So that's the ones they've got.
Excellent.
That's the best celebrity appearances.
Yeah.
Oh, the worst. Oh, here we go. 11 of the weirdest Scooby-Doo. Yeah, what about Gene Simmons? Come on, they gotta have like Gene Simmons of Kiss. Solving a mystery with
there's a whole movie
Gene
of
Simmons.
Scooby-Doo and Kiss.
You're kidding me.
No, I'm not. Yeah.
You're kidding. Dude.
Yeah, it was done only like, 7 or 8 years ago.
What?
Yeah, they have these brand new Scooby-Doo movies. They aired for a while, like on the Cartoon Network and some other stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm not kidding, one of them is with Kiss.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, Scooby-Doo meets Kiss.
Oh, okay. So here's the 11 weirdest Scooby-Doos. They got Jerry Reed. Okay. Let's get the next one. Okay, this is the modern time. I don't know when these things were done, but okay, here, just geek.com, 11 weirdest. Ricky Gervais.
Wow.
Now, see, I'd be down for that. I am a Ricky Gervais fan.
Yeah.
No apologies, anything. I'm a Ricky Gervais fan.
Mm-hmm.
Gold Dust, the WWE wrestler.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Gold Dust. Looks pretty good. The Spectre. DC Comics. The Spectre.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. This is all the new. This is I didn't even know Scooby-Doo's a Bobby Flay. Chef Bobby Flay. Yeah, Bobby Flay.
Oh, jeez.
Celebrity chef Bobby Flay crossed over into the Hanna-Barbera cosmology with 2018's Scooby-Doo and the Gourmet Ghost. Who knew? This is all on the WB. Who knew you could be watching Scooby-Doo?
Yeah.
That'll be our next movie after our Globetrotters period piece.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, we'll do a Scooby-Doo. They already did the Scooby-Doo with, what's his name? Smash Mouth.
The group Smash Mouth, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Dick Van Dyke. I don't know why they'd say that's weird. Dick Van Dyke makes a lot of sense.
It does. During the heyday there with the Don Knotts and other stuff, it makes perfect sense.
Oh, yeah. Dick Van Dyke's a consummate performer. I think that Dick Van Dyke showing up in the thing is good. He did that, what was that? He did that mystery show. Like, you know how when all the people got old, like Angela Lansbury and everyone, and they all did murder shows, like Murder, She Wrote, right?
Right.
And it was like, again, something my grandma would watch or whatever, and it'd be like, yeah, I'll stick to Miami Vice or Crime Story. A little Michael Mann action.
Dick Van Dyke was Diagnosis Murder.
That's it, Diagnosis Murder, yeah. See, I imagine Dick Van Dyke. I mean, I grew up, again, with that Dick Van Dyke show. So I imagined, and of course the Disney, the movies, Mary Poppins, and was it Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, I think?
Yes.
You know?
Chitty Bang.
So yeah, the older Dick Van Dyke diagnosing murder. I'm sure it was fine, but it just, it was like,
Yeah.
But him showing up, you know what movie? I don't know. Maybe it's not underrated. But you know what movie I really like? That I believe isn't Dick Van Dyke, isn't it? Is it Night at the Museum?
Oh, Ben Stiller. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Isn't Dick Van Dyke in that?
I don't know. Robin Williams is in it.
Yeah, but I mean they have, or was that the sequel? Didn't they do a sequel?
I think they did 2 more sequels. Night at the Museum 2, and I think they.
Yeah, he was in it. I don't know which one. That's Night at the Museum. Dick Van Dyke as Cecil, because he was one of the security guards, right?
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, but he was in it. He was
Could
in
have
it.
been, yeah.
It was like him and Rickles or something. Remember they had the crusty security guards?
Yeah.
And it was like Dick Van Dyke. And like
Tim Conway, wasn't it? One of them was Tim Conway.
Oh, maybe it was Tim Conway. God dang it. Who were? I mean, you think about in that movie, you think about like Robin Williams, those folks who played the actual characters, but it was the security guards. Or was it like Mickey Rooney? It might have been Mickey.
Oh, Mickey Rooney.
Yeah. Remember?
Yep.
Okay, Night at the Museum. Robin Williams, Owen Wilson. Do you think of that? Ricky Gervais. Rami Malek. It was like the first time I'd ever seen Rami Malek, right? He played Ra or whatever. Remember the Egyptian guy? Right. Young Rami Malek. Steve Coogan. Come on, man. Dick Van Dyke, Mickey Rooney. They were the security guards. That's who it was. Because I remember, like, Mickey Rooney gets in a fist fight or something. It's like, come on, or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I've only seen the very first one. I never saw the...
I think that's in the first one. Okay. I think that's in the first one. Dick Van Dyke and Mickey Rooney. Because Ben Stiller's the young security guard, and they're giving him a bunch of crap. And Ricky Gervais, I know, is the curator of the museum. He's the head of the museum. And he plays a complete jerk, which he can play very well. Very funny. Yeah. And I gotta say, Robin Williams' Teddy Roosevelt is classic.
Yeah, not bad. Yeah.
Okay, this one I don't get. Vladimir Lenin. Not
What?
John Lennon. Vladimir Lenin and the Scooby Kids. Okay, well, what do they say? We're going to stretch this one because Lennon doesn't actually have any lines in the episode, and he died 45 years before the premiere of Scooby-Doo, but it's such a super bizarre cameo that it needs to be seen to believed. In the What's New Scooby-Doo episode, Diamonds Are a Ghoul's Best Friend, which also featured hockey player Brett Hull as himself. Man, people are just showing up for this.
Yeah.
The gang finds themselves in Moscow, right? Like our Globetrotter movie, and wind up in the tomb of Vladimir Lenin, the man who ushered... Oh, yeah, we know. We know who Vladimir Lenin is. Yeah. Shaggy and Scooby wind up locked in the glass box with the famous corpse, only to be freed by Daphne jerry-rigging an escape out of ice cream and lip balm.
That's awesome.
They get locked in Lenin's tomb with Lenin. There's a picture here. Okay, this is weird. Wonder how well that played in Moscow.
Probably not well.
Oh, that's really weird. That's really, really, indeed, really weird. Like they're literally locked in. They're like, here's Lenin over here.
Right.
I think isn't it still?
It's Lenin.
Isn't it still a secret how they've preserved him?
Something
like a state secret. Yeah. Harlan Ellison. The author, sci-fi author Harlan Ellison. Yeah.
Yeah.
Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated really got weird with guest stars and cameos, but one of their most perplexing gets was notoriously idiosyncratic sci-fi writer Harlan Ellison in the first season episode The Shrieking Madness, which is a Lovecraft rip. Ellison voices himself. If you ever want to see the best thing about Harlan Ellison, and it's up on YouTube, go Google Harlan Ellison Tom Snyder or Harlan Ellison Tomorrow Show.
Wow.
Snyder had Harlan Ellison on, actually more than once, I think. They're chain smoking like they did on the Tomorrow Show because it was late night 70s talk show stuff. And he just dishes on everyone, including Roddenberry. It's because he famously had issues with Gene Roddenberry because he wrote some of those classic scripts, and then he never liked anything that they ever did with his stories. You know, there was another show called The Star Lost, which he wrote, and he'd always take his name off, and he'd be, he'd have a pseudonym because he didn't want his good name tarnished. But it's fascinating. I mean, he just goes off on pop culture and all this stuff. I mean, he definitely was a very, very opinionated guy.
Yeah.
So, Steve Urkel.
Oh boy.
That was on Scooby-Doo and Guess Who, currently airing on the WB.
There you go.
How can I see? What am I missing, man? The Man from Another Place. Okay. The Man from Another Place. Of all the media franchises in the universe, one of the least likely seeming to I gotta watch this one, crossover with Scooby-Doo is David Lynch and Mark Frost's cult 90s classic Twin Peaks.
Wow.
If you've read this far, though, you know that nothing is impossible. An episode of Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated entitled Stand and Deliver had Scooby falling asleep and waking up in the Red Room, where he is confronted by the Man from Another Place, you know, the guy who talks backwards and all that stuff.
Yeah.
The diminutive fellow who dropped cryptic clues to Dale Cooper in the series. They even got actor Michael J. Anderson to reprise his role for the voice acting.
Yeah.
Oh, wild.
That is.
So they did I could see that. I mean, if you're a writer, creative on this show, you're going to think outside the box. Like, hey, what's mysterious and cool? Twin Peaks. Let's put some Twin Peaks in Scooby-Doo.
Right, yeah.
And people would be like, yeah, that's cool. Wow.
That is crazy.
It is, man. It is. It's totally crazy, man. 46. 10 worst. I don't know. I'll get out of this, but I'm fascinated by this because I didn't even know, and I didn't even know Scooby-Doo was still going on, man.
Oh yeah.
You know, because you're sitting there watching it, right? You're sitting there, you go like Scooby. You're like, oh, kids, Scooby-Doo's on, right?
Of course.
You get your Scooby-Doo snack, your Scooby snack, some chips and a beer. I know you. I know what you're doing. I know what you're doing there.
Jinkies, it's Kiss.
Exactly. Well, and you said that was recent.
Yeah, it was like 7 or 8 years ago.
Oh my gosh. So what do we got going on here? Let's solve a mystery. Gene Simmons of Kiss wants to solve a mystery, kids.
That's right.
I'm Gene Simmons of Kiss.
I'm gonna check it online and see when they did Scooby-Doo and Kiss.
We should get Howard Stern to help us. Let's get Howard. Let's get Howard to help us with the mystery. Do you want Howard to come on and help us with the mystery?
Gene Simmons of Kiss.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And that's your Trivial Pursuit. So we got your Harlem Globetrotters in Moscow period piece that we just wrote for you, which brilliant. If I don't say so myself.
Wow.
What?
Wow. Scooby-Doo and Kiss. It's called Rock and Roll Mystery, right?
Oh, that's perfect. I want a rock and roll mystery with Scooby-Doo and the kids. Right?
Ready?
Right?
Yeah, you ready for this?
What?
2015.
Wow.
5 years ago.
5 years ago.
Here's the summary. I love it. The Mystery Inc. gang and Kiss investigate a haunting and discover that the Crimson Witch has returned to summon the Destroyer. From the Kisteria dimension. Ooh.
From the Kisteria dimension. You know who it is when they unmask him?
Oh, who's that?
It's Ace Frehley hungover. Where's my bell, man?
That's right.
My bell. Somebody put my bell over here.
That's
I knew
right.
you'd like that. Kiss joke.
That's
Kiss,
right.
we have jokes. Kiss army jokes.
They whip it off at Ace Frehley.
I would have got away with it if it weren't for those meddling kids.
Right, I would have got away with it if Gene Simmons wasn't such a dick. Like, oh, that great ending.
I told you you'd like it.
Right. Oh, I love it. Hungover Ace Frehley.
Paul Stanley's like, I knew it. Knew it all along. No, it was Ace. Oh, man.
And Gene's like, that explains when he broke out into Shock Me. Yeah.
What was like Daphne and what was the other gal, the nerdy gal?
Oh,
Thelma. They'd just be like, it'd be like, hey, Shaggy, keep Gene away from Thelma and Daphne, okay?
Gene's shagging everyone
Thelma.
over there.
Hello, Thelma. This is Gene Simmons of Kiss. Have you ever thought about going on the road with a rock band, Thelma? I don't know what you're talking about, sir.
I gotta tell you, those glasses are really working.
You can be my grandfather, sir.
That's right. Oh, that's
Hey, what's the difference?
Hey, Thelma.
Yeah, exactly.
Ever been on a tour bus?
Would you like to go on the bus with Gene Simmons of Kiss? It's a young girl's dream come true. This is horrible, man. Again, we're like back into the 2020s now.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Oy, 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 no. Thelma would kind of like be, well, personally, I'm kind of a speed metal person myself.
Right, yeah.
Or something. Or Thelma's like a, like a Danzig fan or something. I don't know. Yeah.
She's like a closet punk, right? Because she whips off and she's got like Sex Pistols or the Clash.
Oh, she is.
Yeah.
She probably listens to some really hardcore, because she's so like, put together, but when the glasses come off and the sweater comes off and she gets into a comfy t-shirt, it's just some loud, fat, hardcore, crazy stuff.
Scandinavian death metal.
Yeah, and maybe Anthrax or whatever. What do you think? And this actually brings up a good question.
Okay.
There are no bad questions here.
That's right.
The only good answer is yes, Thelma. Just come with us, Thelma.
Right.
You could hang out with Paul Stanley's granddaughter. But anyway, who? This is a question I've always had. This is actually should be I should make a list of questions I have for people.
Okay.
Like we should have a list of 20 questions of if you meet anybody in the world, these are your standard questions. And I'm not talking about what'd you have for breakfast this morning? Not stuff like that, but really probing questions. They don't have to be I don't mean questions that are really personal or anything like that. Like the bad questions on dating apps, for example.
Right.
Do you have any STDs? I gotta know about that before you get on the bus with Kiss.
Gene Simmons of Kiss. How do you feel about chlamydia?
Oh God, no! Don't go there, dude. I didn't mean that.
Oh, sorry.
Anyway. So, not questions like that, right? But just questions that are probing, yet innocent, yet would tell you something about that person's personality. I think you could make 20 questions or so that you could ask, And then you could get insight into who that person really is.
Right, yeah.
So, I have one of those questions that I think I would want to ask any human being on Earth that would give me a piece of that, give me a piece of their personality.
Okay.
And that question would be, think about this. Tell me if I'm onto something here, if I'm right. And again, you'd have a series of questions, not just, but tell me if this applies as one of those questions. Like 20 probing, this will be our listicle, our BuzzFeed. Hi, now we're writing BuzzFeed listicles.
Right.
20 questions that the curmudgeons ask, the probing questions that open up someone's personality or whatever, right?
Like
tell you about some...
Cosmic.
Right.
Yeah.
One of my questions would be, who do you think is the heaviest band?
Huh. Okay.
See where I'm going with that?
Yeah.
Like the heaviest movie you've ever, or heaviest music you've ever heard. Like like I'm talking hardcore, like give me the most hard, you don't even have to like it, right? It's not necessarily you like it, maybe you like it. Should it be that they like it, or it's just like, I don't think, maybe it's just, even if they don't like it, it's just the one thing that you heard and you went, whoa, that's some really heavy, hardcore.
Yeah.
Not heavy, maybe hardcore. What's the most hardcore band you've ever heard? See where I'm going with that?
Yeah, very subjective, and that tells you, their answer tells you about what sort of exposure to it they have.
Oh, yeah.
And what their likes and dislikes are.
Because if you're sitting in a bar and you ask somebody and they go, well, actually, I heard a Barry Manilow concert once, and boy, he really tore the doors off the place, I'm telling you. You kind of know that person's personality, right?
Right.
Little Martin Denny was pretty hardcore, I'd say.
That's Cyndi Lauper. She can rock.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like, hardcore, that's what it would be. What is the hardest hardcore band you ever had? And you get totally different answers.
Oh, yeah.
You know? I mean, somebody might say, oh, Led Zeppelin or something, right? Somebody like, Led Zeppelin? What?
Well, for their era, though.
Maybe at the time, you know?
Yeah.
I wonder about that. So answer my damn question.
Right. Yeah.
No, what do you think though, Jason? What would you say? What's the most hardcore band?
Yeah.
Your most hardcore band you've ever heard?
That I've ever heard.
Whether you like them or not.
Yeah. It would have to be real hardcore.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about. The most hardcore band you've ever heard. Could be a musician too, you know, but band, music.
I can think of some of the Scandinavian Celtic Frost or Celtic Frost, however you want to pronounce it.
Ooh,
it's
Celtic Frost.
How about some early G.G. Allen? I mean,
G.G. Allen.
That was pretty hardcore.
One of your cousins, right?
Right. He just goes by the Allin.
That's true. That is true.
That's just the stage name, though. Don't buy into it.
Yeah, exactly. Like Rusty Nails. It's just a stage name.
Right. Stage name. It's not like the name was James Allen.
I actually, that one, Gigi, that's a good pick. Right there.
Yeah.
I'm writing this question down and I'm going to save it. Because this is literally like one of the, I think we could make more questions like this.
Oh, yeah.
Incredibly highly subjective, completely subjective, right? Mm-hmm. Which is perfect for trying to figure out someone's personality. I don't know what you'd figure out from their personality. Again, unless, someone's answer for hardcore band is like Barry Manilow and you'd be like, I still don't know what that means, but,
There already is kind of a prepared question. I don't know who put it out. It was Rolling Stone or something. I thought it was a really good probing question that would give you insight to someone's personality, and that is top 5 desert island albums.
Yeah, okay, see, but I don't like that, though.
Really?
I mean, we do that all the time, I think this is better, though. I think this is better because when you make the list where you have to do, okay, you're on a desert island, you get to take 3 records with you. What 3 records are they? You always get that thing where it's like, well, your list of music of albums you like is more than 3, right?
Of course. Yeah.
It's more than 5 movies, Like, I have a hard time picking my 5 favorite movies because it's more like 10 or 12. And you're always like, well, I'd say like for movies, like I have to have a minimum of 10, right? And even then you're like, oh, but that movie, I need that one too, And that's a problem I have is people will have to make it's a good trading off exercise, Well, you got to trade off things, and that's kind of in the psychology. But this is more like, hit you in the face. There's there's always like, it's like, here would be another question. It's like, what's the best candy bar you ever had? Because people have always had that moment, right? There was some moment in time, and it may be just subjective to that time, not even the actual candy bar. But there was a moment in time, or if you're an adult, if you want to talk adult terms, the best glass of wine you ever had, right? Okay, something like that.
The magic moment where everything clicked.
Right. And it's not even necessarily that item, but you find out that the person does like that candy bar or whatever, so obviously they have to like it, but also they might say what was happening around that time when they had it, which fits in to that moment, and then you get this picture,
Right.
So that would be maybe that's a good question.
There was a question when we used to do the old show, Anarchy Radio. One of the most favorite questions.
You guys had lots of questions on that show.
Yeah.
And many of them are not appropriate for.
No, but there was one question I always liked asking some, just because I wanted to hear the answer, just kind of delve into the inner workings of whoever is. Inevitably, in anyone who's ever been famous, one thing I've always found with them is there is a one moment, and they'll pin it down to you to the second, one moment in their life where they had that surreal moment of either A, I've made it, or B, I can't believe I'm here. Just one, and it's weird that every single one I've ever interviewed, there's never I don't know, there's always like to the nanosecond, this was during this period when I did this or that. And it's just kind of interesting to hear because it's a snapshot in someone's life.
You talking about like a big moment in their life or some big life-changing experience?
Kind of, but to me, when someone's like famous, right, and they reach a certain level of fame,
right,
and inevitably in their career there is a one magic moment.
Yeah.
And it's that surreal moment. They either ask themselves, they either say, "I can't believe I'm here," or it's the moment where it's clicked to them that they have made it, that they are, that this is real.
Like a typically, not always, but you could apply it to other things too. But like that's a good question for a performer, like a musician or an actor, stage actor. Somebody who does something in front of an audience. A comedian would be a good, where they have that best show, like that show that they come out like take a comedian for example. They have that one show that they come out and it's like, wow, everyone was laughing. I felt like $1 million, that sort of thing.
Right.
That's what you're talking about.
Right. Yeah. I asked that question once.
Or athletes have that too.
Yeah. But I asked that question. It was just an international best-selling author, right? One of my most favorite authors in the world. So I had to go out and I wanted to get him to interview him. And I laid it to him. I said, "Hey, do you have this moment?" And without even blinking an eye or a stutter in the speech or whatever, he was like, "Yeah, it was this year. I was at this bookstore in New York City. The place was packed." And I thought to myself, holy, I can't believe all these people have, know who I am and have read.
Right.
And that's what I was looking for. That self-realization moment that,
that's a great question for interviews for people.
Or,
Yeah. I'm thinking more for what kind of where I'm approaching it from is more these smaller questions, because that's a big question. And,
Yeah.
you might ask someone like an athlete, or you might ask someone famous, who's made it something. And, like you said, most people have the answer for it, but it might take some kind, it might be a long answer. It might be you'd think it was when we won that big game in the championship, but it wasn't. Oh no, it was this over here, and here's why. Here's the big explanation. You get a lot of answers like that too.
Yeah, the first moment I came out of the dugout and the stadium was full of people, and it hit me that
Yeah,
Yeah.
But to me, these questions more like are these small, seemingly easy to answer questions. That's what I'm looking for. Like, to me, that's a hard, like if you ask someone, to me that could be a hard question. It's a all-encompassing. It's like, what was the great love of your life? Who was the, sometimes they ask actors that too, like old actors. It's like, who, like Kirk Douglas, for example, who recently passed away. But I think I remember reading an interview with him once, and they said, hey, who was your big love of your life, because famously, I don't know, and so, but those are like big questions. This is somewhere between what's your favorite color and that big question, kind of in the middle of the road, something that everyone can answer, that then can have more depth to it. I don't know why, but like, what is the most hardcore band you've ever heard is like one that I really want to know because of this idea. I think it just gives you insight as to what people can tolerate, maybe what they...
Parameters, right?
Yeah.
What they, I mean, if someone says obviously something really hardcore, you're like, wow, these guys have been exposed to this, or they have some insight, or others, I think the most hardcore band I remember hearing one time, Foghat, back in '73, and
And ladies and gentlemen, in this documentary, that is when the Curmudgeons, Doc and Jason, invented the Church of Curmudgeonology on March 27th, 2020, and invented the personality test, the free personality curmudgeontology test.
Right, yeah. It's our little mental Rorschach,
We'll be opening up a space downtown, canvas with volunteers asking if you want a free personality test.
That's right.
That's the last thing free you'll be getting from the Church of Curmudgeontology. I might have to do the Church of Curmudgeontology.
Yes.
Oh.
That's beautiful. Remember they used to have the 24-hour Church of Elvis in there.
I remember. I've been there.
Yeah.
That's a long story of dead memories, Portland.
Oh, yeah.
What's her name? I used to watch her show. There's a lot of stories. I mean, Elvis is still around. I think we're all friends with him on Facebook.
Oh, sure. Uh-huh.
Just hanging out at Dante's and all that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So he's still around doing his thing. Like, I think he still hangs out at, well, not anymore. Not now, but I think he used to, like, in the summertime, good weather, go down to Voodoo Donuts down there or whatever, and Elvis would be out there doing his thing to this day. But
do you have like a favorite Elvis moment? Because I do. One time, a long time ago, this must be sometime in the 80s, down at Portland Saturday Market.
Which is where he'd perform and hang out.
Right. And he had his, little karaoke rig set up, singing rig. And I still remember to this day, he was singing Engelbert Humperdinck's After the Lovin'.
Yes.
And it just, I still remember that's Flashpoint right there. I can tell you exactly.
You know what? I love that. And actually, my parents had that record, so I knew that record very well.
Oh, yeah.
And it's funny you mentioned that because I believe I saw him perform doing that song. Now that you say that, it's like, I think I saw him doing that song either at Saturday Market or on cable access television at some point. Stephanie. Wasn't Stephanie was her name? I think that was her name. Stephanie.
Okay.
Steph from the Church of Elvis. I think that was her name. But they did a show called Where's the Art? That was the name of the show.
Where's the art?
I may or may not have something on tape there, but I know the fine folks at the what was formerly known as Portland Cable Access, which is open signal, have been trying to archive as much of that stuff as possible. I've had discussions with them about old, weird Portland Cable Access shows.
Right. Keith Hatfield chimes in again with the name is Stephanie.
Yeah, that's what I said, Stephanie. And the show, I do remember the show was called Where's the Art? And it was basically a couple hours live in the studio of just kind of freeform. I mean, obviously Elvis was there. Elvis Schroeder, I think is last name. And her, and then other people just doing kind of like a happening, you know? And they'd always do this really bad CG, so they do, they'd always have do it like a green screen or a blue screen, so they'd always be like superimposing stuff. So, I mean, it was real surreal, you know? She'd just have guests come on and do weird stuff. I don't know if I have any tapes, but I used to watch it all the time. I spent a lot of time watching cable access. Because if you're weird, you know, that's where you find weird stuff, you know, and obscure bands and obscure people. You know, it's like, oh, I'm going to turn on the, you know, the network and see some formula thing, or I'm just going to turn on this Where's the Art thing, and what are they doing? I don't know, you know.
Yeah.
Kind of like the Andy Warhol-esque kind of thing, you know.
Yeah, and that reminds me, Keith also mentions this too, but Jim Spag.
Well, yeah, and he did the same thing. Spag kind of went off and did that sort of thing too, with the addition of dropping his trousers. I do have in the archive Jim Spag. There is Jim Spag in the archive.
There you go.
Yeah. Well, he'd be on all the time. In fact, at the cable place where I was having these discussions, and these people are cool because they're into that preservation too. There is like and the gal who see now with all this shelter in place stuff, I got to talk to them online because you can't go down there, you can't do anything. Right, you can't hang out. But like last time I was there, like I show up and I sneak in and I put a Curmudgeons show in it, and all of a sudden all the alarms go off down there, and the people come out and go, "Hey, stock normal?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm just hiding." Like I try to like get in there and sneak the show, you know, and then they find me out, which is fine. They're great people to talk to, you know, but I don't want to like bother them or anything like that. And so we have nice conversations, and we talk about some stuff and like old cable shows. And in fact, she mentioned a show that I watched, and she's like, "We're looking for tapes of the show. We can't remember the night." And then she named the name, and it's like, "Yeah, I remember that guy. Okay, I know who you're talking about." And I was like, "I don't have any tapes, but he was on pretty," and it was like this weird political show. So they're just looking for all this stuff. Because Portland Access had a very healthy access community, much like New York City, I think Boston. There's this guy who's kind of like the father of cable access. Trying to remember his name. I can look it up some of the times. Not important right now, but he's kind of like noted as the father of access, and like in New York City. So it's kind of that whole thing. And of course, what access is to say, okay, a cable company comes in and gets a monopoly for those connections of cable TV in your town, which they get right away to string cable. They get dig holes. They get the whole right away from the city, the contract. What they have to do in return is have some civic duty to the people, and one of them was a mandate, a law that said you have to open up channels to the community, which is why you have political access. C-SPAN got its start in that, but then it also means, well, you can't, because of free speech in this country, you can't just say, well, we only open it up to this or this politician or whatever. You have to open it up to the community, which I am all about, man. I am a free speech dude. 100%, 1,000%.
How else do you explain the curmudgeons then, right?
Well, I mean, and like they say, hey, free speech, sometimes it's like, free speech is great until it's somebody you don't like their free speech. But it's, it is what it is. That's, just because someone goes out and spouts off horrible ideas, not here, somewhere else.
Right.
No, but if you're like you know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah.
Right. Comes out, spouts off horrible political ideas and stuff that 99% generally of all people are gonna go, yeah, that's not.
Right.
Do you censor them and push them aside and say no, or do you have free speech? Let them do their thing, put it out in the open so everyone can criticize it and go, yeah, that's bunk. What a bunch of idiots, In my day, we ended up laughing at those people a lot.
Yeah.
Because their ideas were so horrid.
Right. I totally agree. I mean, you throw it out in the arena of ideas, and if it's really out there, then all I've got to say though is in the realm of free speech, if you put something out there, be prepared. If it's out there, be prepared to get scorned. I mean, it's just a part.
Oh yeah, and that's the other piece to it too. And nowadays people are like, oh, we can't put that out there because I don't want to be criticized. It's like, that's part of the deal,
Right. Yeah.
I don't know. We live in a very weird time in the 21st century. So I'm fine with free speech, and I'm fine with people. Believe me, I've heard a lot of horrible ideas, many of which were spouted by accredited politicians.
Right. Right.
But But anyway, so yeah, we were looking for, and then I was talking to the fine folks there, and we were talking about, well, I've got this and this, and I did bring out some stuff that I had in the archives for them, and I used to have a lot, and I got rid of it, unfortunately. And then I made the comment, I said, well, you probably don't want my Jim Spag tape, and they were like, Jim Spag? Maybe we do. And I was like, oh, well, so they were cool, they were like, they were free speech. They're like, hey man,
do they still remember him down there? I mean,
those people do, yeah.
Like,
yep.
The legend.
I know, and that's the thing is, the younger the people get, but yeah, some of those folks, they know, and I'm just like, how old are you guys? I mean, they're younger than I am, but I'm like,
They may know the mythos of it, but do they actually, experience the Jim Spag experience?
Oh yeah, we had the Jim Spag live, and he broadcast a lot, and he was so controversial that he ended up getting on national television and all that, But I know I still have friends on Facebook and stuff that I hung out with that were all part of that. There was a show, I was telling them about this show called The Chess Show.
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah. And
they would call in for moves or whatever.
Yeah.
Right?
So So I think the original chess show, there was an offshoot of two of the chess show, but one of them was a guy sitting there getting call-ins doing chess moves. It was more like a chess show, and then they'd talk or show a clip or whatever. Yeah. And then there was the Chess Show Variety Hour, hosted by this gal named Sibel and her husband who played the accordion, kind of a weird Al Yankovic kind of a thing. Yep. And they'd do songs and stuff, and then have celebrity guests and stuff all around the chess show. and it was highly entertaining in that really edgy, artsy, offbeat kind of a thing.
Eclectic.
Yeah. And then I was hanging out with like this group of people, and they were like in that group, and other people. And I met someone. It was like, oh yeah, I used to be a guest on there. I did a whole episode where I was her nemesis and stuff. It's like, oh yeah, okay, I remember that, you know. But that was very entertaining. And again, it was, you know, it's a great thing about it is it's not all slick and network, not edited, right? You know. But and they would do. I remember they did really good openings for that show. They did like a whole like intro, like we do like an intro for the show with music, and it was all scenes from all these movies and television shows where people are playing chess, like a scene from The Prisoner, a scene from Russia with Love during the chess game, and all this. Like they had put together. It was real cute. It was real cute.
Yeah.
Real pop culture.
You know, as far as I'm concerned, I think the world needs more of that today. And I don't mean but I mean just the non-cookie cutter, pre-programmed stuff that's shoved down your throat all the time.
And that's kind of what YouTube is. YouTube has kind of taken up that mantle, although YouTube censors.
Yeah.
It's not a free speech to like that, you know. I mean, YouTube, and by censor, I mean there's different ways it censors. Like there's stuff you can't say on YouTube if you're monetized or whatever. You can't talk about this current situation. All these YouTube channels that are monetized and making money off their channels, they can't say the word. They can't talk about because because YouTube's AI and advertisers don't get out of here. That's just ridiculous. That's just ridiculous. I mean, that's just like, that's not how that's supposed to work. That's and then it's like, well, if you say that, then the machines think you're talking about it and you're doing fake news or whatever. It's like, really? I mean, but that's it. YouTube's a commercial platform. It's not a free speech zone. I mean, it's as free as it is, you know, as folks say, hey, it's a cool platform, but it's not cable access. It's not.
Right. Now, Keith has a question for us. Big Daddy himself. He wants to know, cable access TV still available to be broadcast on such as how, where's the Art and Spag used to do, or is that harder to access? Interesting question. I can only go by, now obviously Doc has more, a deeper breadth of that than I do. I can only go by the Curmudgeons experience. On open signal, and as far as I'm concerned, I mean, we were met with open arms.
I think the answer is yes. You know, still, the part of the question that I'm stumbling on is kind of the, you know, they have more. I don't want to say restrictions, but they do have. If you go up to the website, go to I gotta find it here. I think it's the Open Signal. What is it? PDX. I actually am happy to promote it here. And again, no one's going in studio because of this whole thing. Yeah, opensignalpdx.org is the website for what was once Portland Cable Access. Opensignalpdx.org. You can still go in and, you know, you got to get the training and all that on the equipment to use their equipment and all that, or produce your own thing and then go in there and upload it or whatever. Sure. But I think you can do anything you want. They do have guidelines and stuff, which I think part of the question I'm stumbling on is it as, and I think that's part of the crux of the question that he's asking is it as open as it was back then? Right. And I don't know. Yeah. I still think though political speech and all that probably.
Well, I do know they still have that, don't they still have that one show, Oregon Voter Digest?
Yeah. Well, I'm talking about like fringe politics.
Yeah, I don't know.
Word that you another word that you shouldn't say on YouTube because the bots
Okay.
kill it. You know, that political party in Germany that
Yeah.
which is again dumb because it's historic. So but there are guidelines and stuff like in there, you know, and but I don't know. I think definitely though it's open. I mean, they're still doing stuff, and again with YouTube, it's interesting because everything old is new again, and with the restrictions. I mean, we're here on Facebook and YouTube right now, but with the restrictions that you see with those platforms getting more restrictive and maybe they could become more restrictive in the future. It's very easy to see. I wonder if there's something there, you know. I think one of the more, you know, the one that I think is really open and free and you can find a lot is archive.org.
Right.
And I got to talk to some people I know at archive.org. I really because I've got a lot of questions and things. And they're with all of this going on, they're making some changes too. But they have a big data center, you know, down in San Francisco. They've got a mirrored data center, and they're basically archiving everything. Their pitch is, you know, what if YouTube or one of these channels deletes all our videos one day? You know, well, we have a local backup, so that's the answer there. But you know, there's so many cases of companies changing and then deciding, yeah, we're done with this. We're going to delete the data. And sometimes they don't even let you download the data. Well, archive.org, one of their missions is to not let that happen. So, you know, but I'm telling you, if for any reason, if this discussion here, if Keith or whoever is out there and has some tapes of some of this stuff we're talking about, let's give it up. I mean, I'm just saying, let us know because I've been digitizing tapes. They will do it at Open Signal. In fact, I know someone who just did it. She had an old U-matic broadcast cassette deck, U-matic. She had one of those, and she had a bunch of old U-matic tapes of shows that were produced that she worked on as a producer at there. And she was like, what do I do? I said, well, I digitize it, but you can also talk to Open Signal. And sure enough, she went down there with the equipment and all that, and they're digitizing it all.
Excellent. Yeah.
So there's people for preservation reasons. You know, there's people who want to get that stuff preserved. And and to be fair, like me, and I'm not shouldn't really speak to it. Me and a few of the folks I talked to down there, they're looking for the art, creative stuff, weird stuff, you know.
Yeah.
So they're doing that down there. So if there's tapes or something, and I've been doing that lately myself. I know other people who have archives of tapes, especially of like bands, music performances, live performances, shows.
Right.
Yeah, we get that, you know. I've got my archive set up going. They've got theirs. It's all good. We just want to preserve it. Because at some point, those tapes end up getting thrown in the trash, and then they're gone forever.
Right. Right. Especially when you're in the early 90s, late 80s, stuff with like VCR tapes and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, all that just disintegrates.
Well,
and,
I have to say from experience, you would be surprised how good VHS tapes hold up pretty well, depending on, you know, they weren't just sitting out in the hot sun and the rain. They hold up pretty well. And I just went through a bunch of cassette tapes that started in the late 60s and early 70s.
Yeah.
And I was surprised they were even playable.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah, they held up. There was a couple cassettes that were like, maybe even just commercial cassettes or whatever. They sounded perfect. I was like, this cassette's like 40 years old.
Yeah, I've got cassette tapes that are 30, 35, 40 years old.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm too scared to do it because the breakdown of it, is it going to snap and then I've lost everything.
Yeah,
But
that's the only thing to worry about.
yeah, eventually though, I'm going to transfer them to, more digital media.
Yeah. Well, I did that years ago when I got my first digital setup of my stuff. And then, excuse me, and then I'm going through other people's stuff, actually other family stuff. My mom sang. She was a soloist in choirs and stuff. She had like tapes for years, so it's like, and they've just stuffed away in closets and stuff. It's like, right? What do you do? Oh, someone stuffed these tapes away. So I once went through and well, we want to clean all this stuff out. Well, let's go through these tapes and see what you got here, because I don't want to throw everything out in the trash bin, so found all these tapes.
That reminds me, next show we have got to tackle
the
yodeling.
Yes. The yodeling files.
Right. And
that's right. That is on our list.
But trust me, it is beautiful, and you will learn oodles from it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's legit. I got that record. So here's the problem with my record thing that I don't think I've talked about. Okay, so I've got this record. It's a Thorens record player. It's not an old Thorens, so Thorens is a German audiophile name. You may or may not have heard, but if you know, like, the audiophile and the turntables and all that, Thorens is a well-known name. Of course, it's from Germany, so, mine is like one that was manufactured in the 90s. It's like I didn't have a record player. It's like I should get a record player, so I bought it. So it was a more recent design, and of course nowadays they design them too. It's still a very fine record player. I'm not complaining, and you can put in, you can take out and put in different needles, and you could get really, really high-end needles. So it's great. One of the reasons I got it was at that time one of the only record players I could find ever again that had the 78 speed on it, in addition to 45 and 33. And of course, you have to get a needle for 78. You have to have a special needle, which I did. I got that, so my Thorens actually has a needle. So if I want to play a 78, I can adjust the speed and switch out the needle. So I've got that. So I have some rare vinyl. Is always good to digitize something rare or whatever, and 45. So here's the problem I have. This record player has an automatic swing arm, right? And you can move it over and put it down and do this. But, it has an automatic pickup. It's not fully manual, which is a fully manual record player has no automatic. You just put the needle on, listen to it, and when it's done, you have to pick the needle off, Very audiophile, right?
Yeah.
Which is, nowadays, if you're listening to vinyl, you're purposely kind of listening to vinyl. It's not like they used to have the stack record LPs, like the CD changer and like the MP3 player, where they had like an arm and a thing, and you could stack like 7 album records or 78s or whatever on this arm, and then this arm held them, and after each one played, it would pick up the needle and the arm would come back, and it would drop down the next record and put it. It was horrible for your vinyl. It would totally scratch it up and crap. But that's how old, back in the old day, that's how people did their own personal jukebox.
That's right.
And at some point that was all the rage, to have a record player, a hi-fi that did that. They were all like that because, hey, I want to listen to these 3 records. And as a matter of fact, double record sets. That's why double record sets would come where you'd have side A and side B on 2 separate records.
That's right.
It was just for that reason, because you could play side A and then you could drop the second record down and play side B, right, uninterrupted, and then you take those off and flip them over and play side, C and D.
Right.
Instead of side 1 and side 2, right? Because you'd have to flip the record. So that's why they did that. So nowadays, right, if you're going to listen to vinyl, you're probably just going to like put the needle on, sit there, contemplate, take the needle off, put off the record, right? If you're going to listen to continuously, you're going to get your iPod or whatever. So this thing still has this automatic needle thing. So my problem is I have this 45 of yodeling. I have some 78s. So on an LP, it plays the LP. It's done. Picks up the arm. It's done. We're happy, right? But I put on like some smaller records, like 10-inch, 45, or even some 78s. It's playing the song. And at some point, the arm goes, okay, we're done here. Lifts up the arm and takes it off on these smaller records. So you're in the middle, or toward the end, 3/4 of the end of the song on the end of the record. And it just stops and stops. And there's no way, and I've searched the internet, there's no way I can figure out how to stop that or adjust that. There's no adjustment. I may have to enlist some experts to figure out how to do it. But that's my problem. So I went to go record, because I'll record some stuff digitally, right? But then I get these records and it's like, well, I can't, because the second track, all of a sudden it just stops. And it's all like 45s and 78s that do that. LPs doesn't do it. I know people are going to go, well, I'm sure there's a setting on there where you can adjust it. Or like, nope, it's not there. Doesn't have it.
Right.
So anyway, maybe I got to get another turntable for it. I don't know. So that's my problem with some of these records we're talking about, where I don't have a full digital copy.
Yeah. But we've got to get to the bottom of the yodeling situation.
Yes. So anyway, so that's archiving, and that's see, I started writing down my my curmudgeonology free personality test right here.
There you go.
What is the most hardcore band you've ever heard? That's one.
Okay.
And what is the best candy bar you've ever had?
Oh.
Yeah. The candy bar question could be changed depending on the audience, you know. You know, if you're like in a group of wine tasters or something, you could just swap a glass of wine for candy bar, for example.
Sure.
You know, you just want something universal. Cookie, like, you know, there's some people who don't like sweets, right? So you don't want to ask them the question. It's just more something like tasty. So I'm going to add more to this, though. I can think of it. If people have ideas, let me know. Because I'm going to add more to this. I am going to publish this free curmudgeonology.
Excellent.
Free personality test.
Yeah.
We're gonna get those. We need a word for it. A made up word. We need to get those. I don't know. I'll have to think about it. I'll have to think about it. We need some made up words.
Sure. Made up words.
For curmudgeonology.
Yes.
I'm telling you, man, in 6 months we're going to have a place downtown. We're going to have these young jobless kids out there, free personality tests. Oh, look, you did really well. Do you want to come in and check out curmudgeonology? We've got several books, and we'll have a counselor talk to you. What's your name, Tom Cruise? Ooh.
Right. Oh.
John Travolta? Yeah. Oh, man. One of my favorite jazz musicians was for many years was a curmudgeonologist. Not a curmudgeonologist, but you know who I'm talking about, or what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You could be L. Jason Allen.
Oh, jeez. My God, he's an alien.
L. Jason Allen.
Right.
Oh, man. We'll have a book called Diet Anetics.
Diet. Right. Yeah, but then again, I'm gonna have to go on a diet. Then,
Yeah, exactly. It's like
Oh,
I'll write that one. I'll talk about plant-based and do some. That's a one silver lining of all this stuff going on right now, hunkering down is, I've been changing my ways, and so finally I'm feeling, although then, you don't feel so good, but, trying to start to see some progress. I just need to be like my buddy Mark and start kind of like picking up the weights a little bit, while I'm doing stuff. So I'm just about there, but yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about that. I don't see anything popping up in the news that's some big hair on fire other than just the stuff we're dealing with,
Right, yeah.
It's going to be real interesting. But live streaming's on the way back. Cable access is coming back, folks.
Right.
Yeah. So anyway, I think we've kind of hit it pretty hard.
I think so, yeah. I think we're good.
You look like you're speaking of dead people and obituaries, I should say that I did want to put this on here.
Yep.
Again, talking about my grandma, talking about the modern obituaries. We had another Apollo astronaut die like a week or so ago, too.
No.
Jack Warden, I think it was. I'll tell you what mission. But the Jack Warden, yeah. Oh, no, not Jack Warden.
Not the Jack Warden.
No, not that. No, not Al. That's who it was. Yeah, Al Warden. Jack Warden's the actor. Al Warden's the astronaut. He was Apollo 15 command module pilot. So he was the guy who stayed up flying around the moon while the dudes were Irwin and was it Schweikart? No, who was Apollo 15? While they were on the moon. And I remember one of them was Irwin because I have a book that he wrote signed by him, James Irwin.
Yeah.
But Al Warden died, and there's couple interesting things about him. The reason I bring him up is he actually did, like, I think one of the only deep space walks. And I was like, when do I remember this? So most spacewalks, like when you think of EVA spacewalks, going out in a suit, out in space, doing stuff, just you out there. And we have tons of those that happen on the International Space Station, the Space Shuttle, Space Station. They are always replacing stuff. We had historically the first time 2 women astronauts, but that always takes place in Earth orbit.
Yeah.
Close-ish to Earth. Well, he did one on the way back from the moon. So it's in deep space outside of Earth orbit, and he did a spacewalk. The deal is they had these high-resolution cameras and all this. So as he was orbiting the moon, and this was one of the first rover missions where they got the car out and drove around on the moon. Well, while they were doing that, he was surveying the moon and taking high-resolution pictures. And they did. This mission was all about geology. Actually, it was a science mission. Scientists were like, "Can we get people to figure stuff out and get the right samples and everything?" Because most of the astronauts are like pilots. They're like, "I'm just doing the mission." So they had high-resolution cameras, so they had to retrieve the film out of the service module to put it away before they splashed down back to Earth. So he had to go out there and do an EVA, get the 2 camera films and bring it back. And that's as they were coming back to Earth. So, one of the only guys who's ever gone out in deep space outside. I don't know who else did it, but he was the first for NASA. I can't think anyone else did either. Like, because all of that stuff is taking place in Earth orbit, not this one. And there is some video of it. There is actually some live video. And it's like, wow, you know. But, like, I think he said he'd turn around and there's the Earth. But it's not like, you know, when you're in orbit around the Earth, you look down, there's the Earth. Like, hey, look, that's Africa down there. I'm looking at the continent of it, right?
Right, yeah.
No, think about you're outside by yourself, crawling around, and you turn around and it's like, whoa, there's the Earth there's home way out there, you know?
Just a dot.
Yeah,
You know?
and if you look back here, oh, there's the kind of the moon kind of a dot over there. It's like, that's got to be really trippy.
Right.
Like being outside of the spaceship and looking like, oh. But he was very successful. So that was like a cool highlight, astronaut highlight.
Yeah.
But he was also, and this was the other thing, if you look up on YouTube, he was the only astronaut, Apollo astronaut, that called up Fred Rogers and said, hey, what do you think if I came on your show as a guest on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood and talked about what it was like being an astronaut?
Excellent. Yeah.
And so he did. So there's all these Mr. Rogers, when he comes on and talks to Mr. Rogers about how do you eat in space and all this stuff. He was on Mr. Rogers just telling kids about what space is like. And he said in the beginning, like the NASA, the other astronauts were like, so you're going to go on the kids show? That's weird. And he's like, well, don't you want kids to know what we do? I mean, they're kind of growing up. You know, maybe they want to become astronauts or do the sciences or whatever, you know.
Right.
And so I was watching these clips from Mr. Rogers where one of them is he's going through the food he eats, you know. Mr. Rogers is like, what do you eat up there? It's like, well, here's a packet, and you cut it here, and you put some water in, and look, dang, you know.
Bam!
So that was Al Warden, astronaut from Apollo 15.
There you go.
So there you go. Dave Scott, I think that was who. Anyway.
All right.
We've been hitting a lot of those milestones for the... it's weird, too, because, you know, we've been hitting a lot of 50-year milestones. Because going into, like, 1970, you know, Apollo 13, right?
Yep.
All of that. And also some of these astronauts have been dying recently, too, so... Oh, that's ending on that happy note.
Right. On that note.
But anyway, all right. So we will work on the free. It's totally free personality test, folks. I promise.
Well, over the weekend we'll work on it, and
Yeah.
on Monday we'll come out with our screening information.
Exactly. Yeah, it'll be free until we hook you up to the machine. That costs money.
That's right. That's right. Until you're on the Matrix.
Yeah. All right, man.
All right.
Any closing thoughts?
Now, just have a safe weekend. Everyone out there, try not to get sick or anything, and come back and join us on Monday.
Yeah. Definitely. Definitely go do that. Be safe. Be safe and sound and all that.
Right.
All right. Well, I'm gonna kick on the music and say bye, y'all.
Bye.